Chinese economy. One. Oh, I need a glass of wine. Perfect. Money. I have money. Oh, I should invest it. I should definitely invest this money, but where? Maybe the TV will help me.
The Chinese market regarding the wine industry. If we look at the per head consumption, we can see that in China, the average Chinese person consumes around 1.5 liters every year, which means that they consume around 2 bottles a year. Compared to France, which is number one country in this regard in Europe, they consume around 53 liters, so around 70 bottles. We can see a huge difference here. However, since the Chinese population is so big, it makes China still the 5th biggest consumer of wine worldwide, with around 18 million hectoliters of wine every year, which is obviously a huge number. Even though only around 3% of the population is consuming wine right now in this moment. Still, we can see a big surge of wine consumption from the years of 2011 to 2018. It increased in around 20%, from 40% to 60% in total, which is a huge increase, which just shows how much potential the Chinese wine market has for investors. But if we look at investing options, we can also see that we really have to regard the different drinking habits that are taking place here in China. So for example, Chinese people very much prefer red wine, which is called hongjiu, so red alcohol. Red really has a different kind of meaning here. The color red symbolizes wealth and luck, and also power. Therefore, it makes the red wine really a status symbol and very fashionable for Chinese people to consume. Also, we can see that drinking here, as well as eating, is really a socializing event. It has a different kind of meeting, and for example, at business meetings, people come together, have a meal, and with every course, sometimes they toast and they dry their glass, so they ganbei, this what it's called here. They do it obviously with liquor, but also with wine, which is very uncommon. You wouldn't really do that in other countries. For example, in Western countries, you wouldn't do that. So that's really, really special. In this sense, Chinese people are sometimes more effect drinkers than pleasure drinkers. So if we regard these kind of differences in drinking habits, it's really interesting to see how they evolve over time, because they are really changing as Chinese people are opening up to the wine industry.
Nah, when in China, it's bullshit. I'm changing the channel.
The Chinese economy has been growing with double-digit growth rates in the last few years and decades, and as we can see, the wine market has also been growing rapidly, thanks to an urban, increasing middle class in China. Therefore, we sit down with the leader of the Fudan Wine Association, debutant, and ask him about his idea and view of the Chinese wine market and the changing consumer habits. So we sit down with Gabriel and ask him some questions regarding these topics. So how would you describe us the alcohol consumption habits of young Chinese consumers in their 20s, 30s, in general, the alcohol market, and specifically for wine consumption?
So there are more like 2 main occasions they usually have alcohol. One is with their family. This is about in special occasions such as festivals or birthdays. When they have dinner or a dinner with their families, they usually choose wine. But young people, they like to have fun. They usually go to the bar with their friends. And usually when they go to the bar, they will not choose wine.
There are several statistics about the Chinese wine market that are showing that the market is actually growing. Do you think it's more because of the trend that young people follow each other and follow recommendations of friends, or it's because the Chinese wine drinking culture is evolving and people appreciate the taste of wine and the habit of drinking wine?
My perspective, most young people, they just do not understand wine because it takes a little time to understand the flavor and the fragrance of wine. So what's about the reason of the newest trend is that the young people in China, they don't drink beer anymore. And they switch to another alcohol, and the newest one that sounds cool, sounds elegant is wine.
How did these consumption habits change in the last 1-2 decades in China? Is there any difference between the different generations, how they consume wine, or do they consume at all? Younger generations in their 20s, 30s, and their parents, grandparents' generation?
I believe that it's about the price of wine they consume. For younger generation, they are more price sensitive, so they just buy cheap wine. They want wine. They want nothing but wine. But for the older generation, they are more wealthy. They care about the quality of wine, so they purchase wine with higher prices.
Do you also feel that the statistics show us that actually consumers today drink more wine than before, or at least more people try wine than before?
Yes, that's obvious. Most people they like to try wine because it's a new thing. They can show off because they have a picture of wine in their SNS, social media. They can have the likes from their friends. That's why they consume wine for the first time.
And if you would look forward, what would be your forecast for the next 10, 20 years? Would you expect a positive or negative growth of the Chinese wine market and consumption volume?
Well, my prediction would be positive, but it also needs the whole industry to get better, because nowadays the consumers get low quality wines with a really high price. But with the evolution of the whole industry, if they can get the wine with right price of their quality, I believe that more people will be willing to consume wine.
How do you see the evolution of the industry? How could this problem between the price and quality wrong ratio be solved?
Like I said, the consumers, they are getting low quality wine with really high price, which is unacceptable, just because the retailers, they are making too much money. Because for wine, we have importer, we have first retailer, the second retailer to the fifth retailer, then to the supermarket, and supermarket usually sell wine to the consumers. And the profit margin for each retailer will be around 30%. And it will from the importer, then it will double or triple the price to the supermarket. But after the evolution of the consumer, we believe that the retailers should be gone. If there's a model that we can directly get wine from importer, and it will sell the good wine with good quality, or just low quality wines with a much lower prices.
Touched upon the topic of distribution a little bit. Could you explain us how most of the people who drink wine and purchase actually the wine, they go to supermarkets or prefer to just buy a glass in a restaurant or a bar, or they use the new emerging technologies and just buy online through WeChat applications or other online stores?
They go to restaurants, since most restaurants prohibit their customers to bring wine with them, so they have to order wine there. And if they drink wine with their families or their friends, most of the purchase currently happens offline. They go to the supermarkets or convenience stores to get a bottle of wine. But also the online shops, they keep growing, because without the rent, they can offer the same wine with better price, and the consumers really love it. And with the internet and the phone, they can order and deliver it to your home in just one day, and it's really convenient now.
So our final question to you, as an investor, would you invest in the Chinese wine industry today?
My opinion will definitely be positive, because we are doing the business right now. We have to say we see the big opportunity in China. Because the whole industry keep growing and has a large space. And also, like I said before, the retailers, they are making too much money. So if we can have a business model that we can directly connect the importers to the customers with an online shop, we can make a good fortune with that.
Yeah, okay, that's okay. But I will think about it another day. I want to watch something else now. I want to have fun.
Went into multiple business reports and academic articles to get an understanding of the global wine market and the Chinese market in particular. And market research by Wine Intelligence ranked China as the sixth most attractive market in the world right now, just behind the established markets in Western Europe and the US. But other research is even more promising. A report from a German university together with ProWine, which is the leading wine export expo, conducted a survey among more than 2,000 wine distributors, and they ranked China Number one, which we can also see in the results over here on the sheet. In the top right corner we find China. On the x-axis we see the current market attractiveness, while on the y-axis we see the future market attractiveness. So now that we know this, we need to understand how we can capture the potential of this market. Academic research from the University of Venice adopted a hedonic price model on Chinese wine sales. So it's really particular on China, and they found out that the country of origin of a wine is the main driving factor of sales in China. And because of that, the author also argued that for distributors exporting to China, they should focus on building brands. That is the most important thing. The vintage of a wine was simply not relevant yet in China, which again stresses that the market is not that developed yet.
Again, there's wine everywhere on this TV. Oh la la, I'm going to get drunk if this continues.
Nice to meet you. Please tell us a little bit about you.
So you wanted me to talk about my company?
Yes.
My company is called the Wine App. It's called it started in London, and it is an online and offline platform. For the online, that you can see my company name is called Wine App. So it is an app, and people can purchase wine in the app. And then for the offline, that is the wine bar in front. That's right. And so the people can come here, they can experience the wine, and then when they know about this wine, they found the wine that they love, they buy it online. So this one we want to do something which is different in the market, because we are focused, we are making the platform which is only for the end consumer, and we can so we offer the best price, and that is way better than the restaurant or the wine store. The people can stick far over than these places and then come to wine. And we deliver, we will have ordering delivery, so within the 45 minutes. And so in the future, that I believe that the whole China will be covered. Oh, actually, the whole Shanghai and the first tier city will be covered. So we can do all the delivery in 45 minutes.
Next question is what do you think about which most popular countries of origin of wines?
For China, that is no question will be always France and Australia. So that is the contrast between the overall and most of the people they believe that France has the best wine. Although Burgundy, no question, we always love it. And because for Australia that is people love Australia just because of maybe one brand that is authentic, and then due to they have a very successful marketing strategy, and they have beautiful labels. They put great flowers on the label.
What do you think about Chinese people, Chinese consumers? They more prefer to lower prices and lower quality, or they more prefer to higher prices or higher quality wine?
It depends on the customer we're dealing with. For those people who know about wine, they're always looking for the boutique wine. Boutique wine that is that depends on extremely good quality, but it is not that famous. Actually, this is the wine that we are looking for, and also that we are is the people who know about these boutique wine is my target customers. So this is the one.
Educate the Chinese consumer about what is a good wine and what is a best wine.
Actually, this question can be answered in one way. All of the wine, we need to feel the harmony. The definition of the harmony is okay, all the wine can be divided. Actually, can be divided in three parts: alcohol, tannin, and acidity. All all of them, if they put it together, and you can feel the harmony of this trio, then it is a good one.
Do you feel optimistic about the future of the Chinese wine market and the consumption of it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can see in China and the one thing of the whole Chinese, they are willing to try new stuff. So especially when the people they are getting more wealthy, and then they have the choice, they have more choices to try new stuff. So wine absolutely is a new treasure for them. So when the people who, especially they getting tired on the French Bordeaux, and then they have more money to spend. It doesn't mean they have only spent the money on the Chateau Lafite, Chateau Mouton, Chateau Latour, Mouton, something like that. They can have the ability to choose Italy, Spain, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all over from there. And especially no matter all the wine regions, they can offer high quality, the highest quality, and Chinese has the opportunity to get them to China. So why not? So in the future, I think that is an absolute optimistic on the development of China or on the wine industry.
Thank you for
Like any other industry, the wine business also faces its challenges. Following its period of increasing imports and sales over the last decade, in 2018 we experienced a slight decrease in imports and sales. This is mainly due to the ongoing trade war, but is expected to be only a temporary state and projected to rise again soon by market analysts. Another concern for the Chinese wine market is the vast amount of counterfeit wine that is currently in circulation in the Chinese market. In China, the share of fake wine is estimated to be at around 40%. In order to tackle this problem, the government works against such fraud. The Chinese state is working with winemakers to better police its wine markets and crack down upon the criminals and lower the ratio of counterfeits. However, all of this is not a concern for users of the wine app. Customers who use their service don't have to worry about counterfeit wine at all. Every product sold through the app undergoes quality checks to ensure the authenticity. All in all, the future for the Chinese wine market looks bright. Many experienced European winemakers have already started operating their own vineyards in China and therefore contribute their know-how to domestic Chinese producers. They also form joint ventures which have significantly expanded the quality of wine production within China.
I learned so much today. Wow, I should watch TV more often. Okay, so let's go to the bank now. I'm going to invest everything.